Thank you, Chair. So as a father, I feel constantly in battle trying to stop my daughter asking me to put the iPad on where she watches all sort of mind-numbing tosh. But I do quite enjoy watching stuff, particularly that which I find on the iPlayer. She does watch Bing. She likes Bluey as well. I quite enjoy that. And she sort of quite regularly has to ask me to stop crying. But what is it? In what way is it beneficial for my daughter to be watching TV with me or with family members? Can I go to Dr. Taylor first?
Yes, it's incredibly important and beneficial. So if children are watching with another person, and the other person has to be actively watching, so not just passively sat there with them while you don't talk and interact. You know, if you're talking and interacting about the content, whether that's during the screen time or after the screen time, that's going to support their learning from that content. And it kind of relates to what Sam was saying about pacing. So really good quality content that will support these sort of co-viewing interactions can't be too fast paced, otherwise there's no gap for you to be able to say anything. Is that you've missed half the story if you do that. So yes, it absolutely will support their learning if you're co-viewing and using it with them. And obviously you're enriching it then with additional language with the children as well. So.
Can I just make a couple of points?
Yeah, please.
No. Okay. So a couple of points just to add to what Gemma was saying. I think, so as I was saying earlier, naturally, not so much for things like Bing and Bluey, which are very much about everyday experiences, yeah? But when we're talking about, the type of content I was talking about earlier, very fast-paced, and particularly kind of world in peril type content, yeah? Even on, iPlayer, you get a lot of kind of world in peril type content. In addition to the pathways I was talking about earlier, through which, fast-paced content, which is unpredictable, triggers, us to go into this, fight or flight, ready to respond at a moment's notice node. There's also evidence that when we're watching kind of imaginary characters kind of dealing with an imaginary situation in which the world's in peril, children's bodies get tricked and respond to this imagined danger as if they're actually experiencing danger themselves. Yeah, so their bodies are again triggering this fight or flight mode. You might have to, run for your life at a moment's notice, even though it's all happening on a screen. Yeah. So for both of those reasons, there's really good quality evidence that a lot of the naturally occurring peaks in a child's stress occur during screen viewing. Yeah. And this is a point I think is really important to make to parents, because parents are very, very often unaware of it. Yeah? They'll notice things like that's why kids are ratty when they come off screens. Yeah? They're in fight or flight mode. They've had a massive energy release to their muscles. Their bodies are ready for all of this activity. So they'll notice that children are ratty after they come off screens, but they won't be aware that it's the time when they're on screens that their hearts are going really, really fast. They're in this fight or flight mode. And when I think of my children experiencing their own moments of peak stress, there are definitely times that I want to be there with them. Yeah, I want to be experiencing this with them at the same time. Yeah, you can model how to respond appropriately to the stress. Yeah, the simple act of physical contact. Again, there's really, really good quality evidence that just sitting next to you, with you, attenuates your stress response. Yeah, so for a lot of those reasons, and also because you can talk about it afterwards. Yeah, you can discuss what happened. You can contextualize it. You can say it was imaginary, not real. All those types of things that are really important for children. So for that reason, I think that's a particularly important reason, helping children to cope with what is naturally their stress peaks during the day by experiencing it with them. Yeah. And then just really quickly, one more point I wanted to make. So there's also some evidence. So we do a lot of work with kind of dual brain recordings and looking at kind of synchrony in terms of brain activity and physiological activity. And one of the really important benefits, I think, from co-viewing, this comes in lots of different ways. It comes definitely from reading stories with your children at the same time. But there's really, really good quality evidence that simply experiencing things at the same time, whether it's in terms of brain synchrony or physiological synchrony, has this effect that, honestly, from a neuroscience point of view, it's quite mysterious as to how it happens, but it's very, very well proven that it does, which is that experiencing the same thing at the same time increases your feelings of mutual understanding with that person that you're experiencing it with. Yeah, it gives you a common frame of reference, stuff to talk about afterwards, but it also just kind of deepens your kind of mutual understanding and perspective taking. So those are all reasons why, co-viewing screens is a great idea. Yeah, it's so hard to do as a parent. We all know that, you just need your 5 minutes to clean the kitchen, chuck a screen at them. But if you can make it work, it's really, really important for lots and lots of different reasons.
Professor Orban, anything to add to those responses?
Well, I think, as Dr. Taylor said, there's a large range of different pieces of evidence. And so there was a big integration of all different studies in this space, and it did find that co-viewing and viewing of educational content, the amount you did that was positively associated with learning outcomes in children classified as 0 to 18, so not just early years. So I think that the evidence you've heard is backed up by the intricative, process of putting together, I think, 88 different studies.